what should the NCC prioritize in the coming year? And how specifically would you support this work? How would you connect these priorities to our locals and chapters?
I think National should have a few priorities this year. I think one of them, though it's not a direct resolution this year, should still be focused is accessibility. I worked with both Madhu and Sammy on the DOC, the Disability Oversight Committee. So I hope that if I'm put onto the NCC, I can work directly with a lot of our disabled comrades to create more resources like the disability checklist to work that more naturally into the work that we're doing. Secondly, I think Palestine definitely needs to be the main center focus of our national campaigns this year. All of our committees need to be more functioning holistically to help support this work that we're doing.
So I think part of the issue is, again, participatory democracy, people in their locals not necessarily having a direct connection to national YDSA. In New Jersey, there was actually a chapter that had left DSA explicitly for the reason of just not feeling a strong ownership or control over the organization. I agree with putting disability justice at this as a priority, not simply in theory, which is easy to do, but putting it in practice automatically for all of the events that we're doing, all of the organizing that we're doing, figuring out a way that people can actually actively participate. And along with that, strong anti-Zionism. We need to build stronger, explicit relationships with our allies in the Palestinian Liberation Movement, including SJP and PYM.
Yeah, I think it's probably very easy for us to say that we should prioritize things like our Palestine work and our labor work. But what that looks like, I think R17 lays out a very strong path for taking on Palestine campaign work. When we talk about diversity, a lot of that will get done through our growth and development, teaching chapters very early how to recruit and build diverse chapters, why that's important. It also gives us kind of the flexibility to drop things and meet the moment. We were very gridlocked into our campaigns this past year on the NCC, and being able to drop things and center an issue like Palestine, I think is very important. One path to centering something like that, I think, is proposed in a constitutional amendment A1 that allows us to pick explicit priorities out of things that are passed at convention, because as stated in the question, we do have a regular issue of kind of passing everything because we propose a lot of really good ideas, but we can't do them all.
I would echo the sentiments of I think almost everyone here that the issue of Palestine is far and away the greatest issue, the one that defines the left. I wanted to sort of echo and bounce off of something that Bryce said earlier in regards to our comrades of SJP and PYM. We obviously do not have to tail by their leadership, but what does it look like when we have a chapter of YDSA and a chapter of SJP or a chapter of PYM on both on the same campus that don't talk to each other, that are both running Palestinian solidarity campaigns? Is that something that's going to look good for us? I wouldn't think so. In the case of participatory democracy, as Bryce also said, Bryce, I'm paraphrasing off of you a bit here, like talking to local chapters about those priorities. You should go to individual chapters and ask, what's your take on this? What would you like to see more of from us? That sort of flattening of the levers of communication there is, I think, crucial for an NCC that avoids the pitfalls of feeling disconnected from its local organizers.
We need desperately to establish YDSA as a force that is ready to lead these independent struggles, ready to act as a pole of attraction that the thousands, if not millions, of students and youth who are becoming disenchanted with the anti-democratic system we live under, becoming disenchanted with the war machine that's slaughtering people abroad, that those thousands or millions of students and youth trust to lead these movements. And to do that, we have to commit to independent political struggle. So I think we should prioritize resolutions like R15, No Votes for Genocide, which, obviously Palestine is the most clear example of an issue where there is no compromise with the ruling class. There is no compromise with the anti-democratic regime we live under. I think we need to lean into those differences. We need to drive those wedges further. That's our strength.
I agree that Palestine right now is a defining moment of our generation. Our primary task is to build a mass student movement that stops the genocide. It means not just doing abstract Palestine work, but building towards a national sustainable student strike for Palestine that organizes the unorganized, that reaches out to people who are disillusioned with Democratic Party and the current order of things, and organizes the unorganized. This means expanding our internationalism work. It means reconnecting with youth section across the world. It means learning from comrades across the globe that are currently fighting the far right. Now, as NCC members, something that we can do, I think more tangentially, is of course continuing the model of one-on-one mentorship. I think those brilliant stipends have been brilliant for accessibility and YDSA leadership, and that's, I think, organizes people. I think more accessible polyeds would be amazing. Like North Shore Cards Reading Group was great. The last, like a lot of strategy calls were amazing. This big call that was put out like during Colombian camp, it was brilliant with like 200, 300 people. And the last like polyed on Cameo was brilliant. And that's what inspires me to fight for this national student strike, because in a traditional Cameo fashion, students can become catalysts for a brighter, greater change in the labor movement. And that's how we win.
So many students across the country are realizing that the system that we live under is fundamentally screwed up, right? So I think that meeting the moment through Palestinian solidarity organizing is very important. And how exactly do we do this, right? I think that prioritizing a lot of the work within the student worker unions is very important. I think that YDSA and DSA in general is at a very unique crossroads between labor and social justice, right? And I think that part of our task as socialists is to meld the two and show that they have this common fight against capital. I think that also YDSA chapters should reach out to and form coalitions with other organizations on campus. We see this a lot with SJP. At Florida International University, we organized a little thing called Free FIU, in which we formed a coalition against DeSantis with a pre-union grad workers formation and our faculty union, right? I think that getting close to the already existing labor formations on campus is very important. I also think student government is a very promising arena for Palestine solidarity work. And lastly, making progress on 2023 R17, building the youth wing of a socialist party is paramount. You don't have to be a student to care about organizing, right? We need to open up our organization and we need to get the ball rolling. And on the NCC, I will prioritize that.
Echoing what a lot of my comrades here have said, I think a big priority should be Palestinian liberation. In particular, I think the way that the NCC does that is ensuring that we have a variety of training and other trainings and other resources available to chapters so that they're able to do Palestinian solidarity work that best fits their local conditions, whether it be trainings and resources and help on how to do encampments, connecting chapters together so that they can share their resources, making sure that our functional committees, particularly comms and polyed, are both plugged into like our other committees as well as our chapters. Additionally, I think like it's a big priority that the NCC should take on increasing diversity, particularly racial and disabled diversity, making sure that things are accessible, ensuring that we are doing one-on-ones with chapters, and making sure that our committees are taking an intentional approach in making sure that we don't unintentionally like exclude people of color, disabled people, etc., and that we are organizing in a way that acknowledges that class is not the only analysis we should be taking. And I think the NCC takes a central role in this because they are the ones who are able to talk directly to committees and chapters and do one-on-ones and things along those lines.
Yeah, I think YDSA should continue the great work we're doing around Palestine, but I think it's important we continue to make sure we transform YDSA into a truly multiracial movement, actively addressing the current lack of diversity. This involves increasing BIPOC representation and leadership within our organization. I will say, when it comes to SGA, I don't think it is an important national strategy. At least for our university, SGA has no institutional power, as well as labor. I think labor is very, very important, and we should continue to work on it. However, again, it's a different story in southern states, especially in Georgia when public sector bargaining is illegal. We have a wall-to-wall union in our campus that encompasses all our state schools in Georgia, and they just haven't been able to do much because it's we have no bargaining power.
We've been talking a lot about what we should prioritize, but I think we should firstly prioritize what works, and that to me is bold organizing. We don't need permission to lead the movement. I think so many people see BDS in Palestine, which I think should be one of the things we focus on, as an issue to solve and not a movement that we should be active in leading. because it is so intersectional. It reaches across so many margins. So many people of color in this nation look at what's going on in Palestine and see it as an issue that they see reflected onto themselves. We are colonized people watching people be colonized. And I think that's something that we should jump on. We should be more active in recruiting in HBCUs. And we shouldn't just talk about diversity in leadership. We should have diverse membership, which will come from building up or focusing not on connecting with leaders in the BDS movement, but looking at the ground, seeing who's below, and targeting those folks, targeting those millions of alienated Americans that are the masses that we need to organize. We should create a revolutionary movement from the ground up, which will in turn be full of people of color, because those are the multiracial working class are the ones that are always on the forefront of these type of things. I think good growth will come from good movement, from developing good movement and doing good actions.
I agree with a lot of other folks. I think that we need to prioritize Palestine because it's a crucial mass movement of our time. And also labor because it has the economic power to really change our society. And of course, the two are deeply interconnected. We should be looking at the UCs and the UAW. How are they able to organize a strike for Palestine? How are they able to leverage power in our society to win concrete concessions? And in terms of how do we prioritize these things, we need to look at the chapter level. We need to look at our base within YDSA. And to grow our base, to grow our chapters, we need solid and consistent mentorship. A lot of our base and a lot of our chapters are very disconnected from national. And this is even more important when we're talking about not having in-person events this next year. This mentorship will not only connect national to locals, but also connect leaders of locals to one another.